Okay, we've got a lot to talk about today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I'll talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, to start with, we have a great UFO video from David Jote. What did I just capture? Well, let's find out. What did David just capture? What is that thing? It's kind of another one of these objects. I've shared a few of them where they just kind of tumble through the sky. You can kind of see it moving. Sometimes it almost looks like it's going end over end. Really interesting how these things move sometimes. Do you think this could be explained by a balloon or something? Or do you think this is something more anomalous? It'd be really helpful if we knew which way the wind was blowing, for example. But that looks really intriguing. I'm intrigued by the way it kind of tumbles. Again, like some of the recent UFO videos I've shown you that don't appear to be balloons. So, so let me know what you think about this cool capture. Either way, great job, David, and thank you for sharing that with us. Meanwhile, Truth Poll is saying, what if our ancient ancestors depicted what they saw? And of course, these are some ancient art from Egypt and that area, and showing giants. Were there actually giants helping build, for example, the pyramids? Could that explain the construction of the pyramids? And we're going to talk more about the pyramids in a minute. But yeah, that our ancestors depicted alien beings and all sorts of stuff in their artwork, and we know some of those peoples were interacting with actual NHI or at least hybrids, like in the Nazca mummy case. The Nazca culture, they had numerous depictions of those beings in their artwork. They were drawing what they were seeing. So were the ancient Egyptians also drawing what they were seeing. Now, to be fair, they have lots of fantastical creatures and gods and stuff that they drew, but there are giants. There were giants. So it makes sense that they would have some interaction with human culture, right? So could this be an example of that? Let me know what you guys think about this cool ancient artwork and whether or not the giants may have been interacting with the ancient Egyptians. Of course, you would think that if they were, that we would have some other evidence of it. Those are big guys. If they were living in houses, where are those houses, right? Maybe they were living in caves or something. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think about that interesting speculation. Getting back to the pyramids and that fascinating new evidence of the LiDAR scans of the Khafre, how do you say it? The Khafre pyramid. I'm probably totally butchering that. I wasn't able to listen to that interview because it was not in English and there weren't even English subtitles. But this video gives a good breakdown with some additional clarifying information and some corrections as to what I said in the first video about this. Because again, it wasn't in English. So I was thinking that those large structures must have been pylons holding up this great edifice. But actually, and this is right below the Khafre pyramid. So not so. It actually gets much weirder and more interesting, right? So you have these structures, right? That are in the pyramid. These are, known structures, and you can see them right there. Right below those things sit these big things that I first thought were pylons with these coils going around them. Well, these things go down over 600 feet and they are hollow. They're not pylons holding up this structure. They are hollow. They are like wells or something. And again, they have these coils around them. Are they drawing up energy? We don't know what the hell they were done, but they terminate in these big blocks. And the whole vast complex, the underground complex, goes down like a mile or two. It's crazy. You see these structures within the pyramid, and then you have these wells going down over 600 feet into that block. We don't know what the hell is going on. We don't know what this is for. There have been all sorts of speculation, particularly with the Great Pyramid, that it was some sort of energy device. And some have speculated that it was drawing up water from the springs and incorporating that into some sort of energy creating mechanism. So if these are wells, you might wonder if they're drawing up water. But if they terminate in these blocks, I don't know what to make of this. So if you have any theories on what the hell is going on here, let me know. And fascinating stuff. I can't wait for more research and speculation about what these things are. Maybe we'll finally get some answers with these LiDAR or these, SAR scans, about what was going on in Egypt back in the day and what those things were for. It's just incredible, guys. I love it. Meanwhile, Howie Mandel got a UFO. Howie Mandel recorded a UAP orb from the cockpit of a plane at 45,000 feet flying east over Texas. That's where I am. That's where I get excited.
Okay, so I'm in the cockpit of a plane.
I'm easily excited. Look at this. Look at this.
Brighter outside the plane.
And then it turns.
When is it turning?
And it stops, and then
Wait.
it stops position, and then it goes away.
What is that?
And then there's two more
Where?
right below it.
Where? Point to where there's another one. Oh. And now there's two more. So what is this?
I don't know, man.
Look at it. Bright, throbbing.
So we're looking at those objects.
And
All right.
then
There you go. Some anomalous objects captured by Howie Mandel. Love it. Meanwhile, John Tedesco is complaining about Dr. Gary Nolan. He says, in a recent Dr. Gary Nolan post regarding the Skywatcher team, he implied that their data collection was more comprehensive than that of other groups, specifically mentioning the Tedescos. I find this unfair, says John Tedesco, and I vehemently disagree with his statement. So the Tedesco brothers firing shots at Gary Nolan, saying no, actually they're taking a very scientific approach, and they've got comprehensive collection methods and so on. So I love that we've gotten to a point in ufology where we have competing teams arguing about who is more scientific and rigorous in their collection of data. I think that's awesome. I mean, I hope they can work together and be cordial and not, vehemently disagree with each other and run each other down as at least John Tedesco feels like he was being run down by Gary Nolan. I hope we get to a more cordial point. But at the same time, I love that we have competing organizations trying to bring its UFO disclosure and arguing about who's more scientific. So I thought I'd share that with you. I thought that was pretty awesome. Speaking of Skywatcher, Jake Barber says we have a job offer. Hiring Skywatcher is looking to hire a full-time producer to help lead our content production. I got this. This person will play a pivotal role in helping share our research and findings with the world. Serious candidates only. Apply here. All referrals appreciated. So there you go. If that is you and you want to assist in Skywatcher's content production, they're looking for a full-time producer. It sounds like a lot of fun. I would think there would probably be some people out there that would want to be involved in that. Full-time working with Skywatcher and Jake Barber and those guys on, again, basically what we're talking about is a UFO disclosure. So pretty cool. Meanwhile, Merrick von Rennenkamp does not think the 60 Minutes piece went far enough talking about the mystery drones. And this is something I was wondering as well. We talk about drone swarms. Well, what about the Omaha? The incident shared by Jeremy Corbell or leaked to Jeremy Corbell, where we have this transmedium object that was apparently part of a fleet or swarm of similar objects. and it goes into the water. And I've shown that, and other people have shown that video. But I think it was officially labeled as those objects were UAS. Those were drones. And Lou Elizondo has said, well, that's just kind of nomenclature they use to get around, people filing a FOIA, basically, to make it less FOIA-able. We won't talk about UFOs or UAP. We'll talk about UAS. We'll talk about drones. That just makes it simpler to file reports about. So, should we use the word drone in talking about this incident, the Omaha incident? It is how they filed the report, and there were, a swarm of these objects around these military vessels, in much the same way as we have swarms of drones around military installations on land. Are those two phenomena connected? And that's another thing that makes me think that the mystery drones are indeed UAP or UFOs, because they perform in the same way that UFOs do. We have clearly anomalous objects going in the water, swarming vessels, no visible means of propulsion. They don't look like drones, they look like orbs. Officially they were called drones, but performatively they're the same. They do the same things as the mystery drones. So I thought that was an interesting point that Merrick brought up, that they should have covered the Omaha incident and maybe other similar incidents. But again, those weren't clearly drones or things that look like drones, and 60 Minutes wasn't really going there. They were keeping it as mainstream as possible, although they did leave the question open because they asked their interviewees, what are these things? And their interviewees said, we don't know. So I really applaud, 60 Minutes for doing their piece. Could they have gone further? Yeah, absolutely. We need answers. We also need to, decide if we're talking about one phenomenon that's wearing different faces, or not. So let me know your thoughts on that. Yeah, Whistleblower, meanwhile, I told you that I had been contacted by Whistleblower, and he wants to come on the show. Well, he has some strong words for Lou Elizondo. Now, I love Lou. We wouldn't be where we are with UFO disclosure, with competing groups of scientists arguing in psionics, arguing over who is going to do UFO disclosure with the most scientific rigor, if not for Lou Elizondo. But I know a lot of people have questions and concerns about him, and maybe some of those are legit. Who knows? Whistleblower certainly has strong feelings about Lou Elizondo. He's replying to this tweet, and I thought he had some interesting points, so I will read them to you, and you can take it or leave it. Lou is saying, as noted by senior military leadership on 60 Minutes, the U.S. has a capability gap dealing with the emerging all-domain technologies, which include advanced drones and UAP. In this time of change, our greatest threat is not the challenge of drones or UAP. It is acting with yesterday's logic. We must change to protect our country. America can handle the truth. Now, I love that. I thought that was a great statement. I wouldn't expect there to be much controversy around that statement, but Whistleblower has this to say. Since we've both seen the same classified files on the Roswell species, I know from 100% fact that you're a liar and that you are purposely mixing in truth with the whole threat to national security narrative, that is, to prepare people for the fake alien invasion on the way. You and I both know that the species that crashed at Roswell is known already to us as the most benevolent species in the known galaxy. Facts. And Whistleblower is somebody that Richard Doty has vouched for as being legitimately read into some of this stuff. Now, that's going to make some people doubt him even more, and I don't blame you. I have mixed feelings about Richard Doty myself. A very ambiguous figure, if he is ambiguous. I guess a lot of people would say he was lucky to be considered ambiguous. Did you know that I, Whistleblower, released a whistleblower document 3.5 years ago almost 4 years ago now. And in that document, I spoke about it being two craft, Roswell, and gave even more detail than you gave in your book. Didn't realize that, did you? That's how I know you know. Same way I know you know that Serpo was real and it was purposely labeled a hoax by the same people that you work for. Yeah, so I'm not going to go on, but I think it's important to consider there are multiple points of view on all of this. And whistleblower is somebody that might actually have been read into some information. That's not to say, however, that that information is correct. And he is currently in prison for bank robbery. So take everything anybody says with a grain of salt. Obviously, including Lou, including anybody. But I thought that was an interesting, exchange, or not an exchange, because Lou, of course, is not going to reply. But some interesting ideas put out there by whistleblower, particularly about Serpo, and also that the species that crashed at Roswell is known as the most benevolent species in the known galaxy. I thought that was a interesting thing to say. I had never heard that before. So let me know what you think. Meanwhile, Jason Wild is talking about more esoteric matters. Hindu and Buddhist traditions tell stories of masters who never actually die. They either leave their bodies at will, transfer their consciousness, or outright vanish without leaving a trace. It sounds implausible or impossible, but the accounts are too numerous, too well documented, and too eerily similar to dismiss as just myths. And here's the real smasher. Modern science is starting to prove they may have been onto something. So I'll let you read this full post at your leisure. It's pretty long. But yeah, about vanishing into mist. Yeah, a lot of these masters, or not a lot, but some of these masters do indeed, when they die or as they are dying, vanish into mist and rainbows. And it is called the rainbow body phenomenon. And yeah, there's even pictures of some of this stuff. Now, I warn you, some of the pictures are a little creepy. These are, masters, Buddhist Tibetan masters, I think, in these photos, although Hindus, I believe, have also done this. Their bodies shrink and shrink and shrink until they completely vanish. And with witnesses, and there's corresponding evidence or some of it. But yeah, here is one of these masters that is in the process of shrinking and dying. This is a dying process, and they are deep in meditation through all of this, and they are gradually shrinking and shrinking. And here is a more graphic image of a master that has shrunk down to the point where he can fit in this igloo. So yeah, really creepy. I'm not going to dwell on that picture, but it's in a way a beautiful thing. They transform their bodies into light. This is from Masters of Buddhism. And the realization of the rainbow body, the 5 elements that constitute the human body get reabsorbed into the real nature of the 5 colors. And here's the 5 colors right there. 5 colors, there we go. And next slide. At that moment, the physical body seems to disappear for an external observer. However, in reality, it is still maintained, but solely at the level of the 5 color lights. So they are literally transforming their bodies into light. Ordinary people simply cannot no longer see it because they lack the capacity to see the true nature of elements. So that is just fascinating. The whole rainbow body thing is just really fascinating. It seems to be a real deal where these masters can indeed achieve that transcendent state where their bodies actually transcend the physical plane and become light. Now, the intervening time is a little grisly to look at until they achieve that state. But what about Jesus? Funny Old World has a really great breakdown of the Turin Shroud. And there's fascinating information contained in this video if you've researched some of the recent research on the Turin Shroud. Really, really interesting because there's more and more compelling evidence that, yeah, that may have been Jesus, that there's new carbon dating techniques that place that shroud back potentially to 2,000 years. And whoever died in that shroud really seems to have been a man that was crucified and tortured. And if you watch this full video, there's a lot of information about the scientific findings, how they know that, and what specifically he underwent. So it does appear to be the shroud of an individual that was legitimately tortured and crucified. Why it could be Jesus? He has the corresponding stab wound in his side. Also, he has wounds from the crown of thorns, among other pieces of evidence. Most notably, the image that's burned into the cloth. And it's so weird because I've talked about this before, how this was done. So, could Jesus have instantaneously transformed into a rainbow body? Is my question. If he was an ascended master or something like that, as I think of him, and if you relate to him as the Savior or the Son of God, that's great. I relate to him as the an ascended master. But here is what Funny Old World has to say about that image burned into the shroud.
That looks like Jesus. So the whole image that we see in by the naked eye in the daylight is actually a photographic negative, which is crazy because even if it was a medieval fake, that's still using sort of photographic imagery or photographic negative techniques centuries before the photograph was invented. And if it is original from the first century, that's like 19 centuries before photography was invented. We have an image that is encoded with a photographic negative. It's getting spicy. This is
Yeah, so the Shroud of Turin really interesting, and I highly recommend watching this full video of a breakdown of a whole bunch of really fascinating and compelling information on the Shroud of Turin and why that may actually have been Jesus. But yeah, there was the image, the famous image, and they have recently been able to enhance that image. If I can find it, I will show it to you. But it's just it's really, and I've shared that before, that this image right here, where they have been able to bring out the image in the Shroud of Turin. And I mean, it looks like Jesus, right? How we think about Jesus. Do we think about Jesus in the way that he actually looked? Some would argue that no, he must look more Middle Eastern. If you read the Dolores Cannon books on Jesus, where people recall knowing Jesus in a past life, he is actually represented in this way. You may get some insight as to why that is in those books, which I totally recommend. Jesus and the Essenes, and They Walked with Jesus. Really, really interesting stuff. Obviously, and in those books, there is indeed a UFO connection. UFOs do show up in that book. Jesus was interacting with beings. And there's Atlantis and other cool stuff pop up in that book as well, or those books. Meanwhile, getting back to some UFO stuff, John Greenwald says the DoD refuses to confirm or deny that records relating to Jake Barber and communications between he and Arrow exist. So Arrow continuing with the disinformation. Here is a copy of their reply to his FOIA request. Trying to get some Jake Barber information out of Arrow, right? After review of your request, it has been determined that the fact of the existence or non-existence of records which would reveal a connection or interest in the matters relating to inter- and intra-agency memoranda, which are deliberative in nature under blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they're denying his request. They're not going to give him the Jake Barber information, and they're not neither confirming nor denying it. The good news is they're not making him pay for it. In this instance, fees for processing your request were below the threshold for requiring payment. Yeah, so good news and bad news, right? But yeah, they're still playing games with us. They're still withholding this information. Arrow, many people think that, yeah, now that Kozlowski is in there, a new sheriff in town, the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick is gone, it's going to be a new dawn for Arrow, and it's going to be so much better now. I don't think so. For one of the first things Kozlowski did was try to debunk the Go Fast video, which is I'm not going to go through it all right now, but it's undebunkable. It's part of a pattern of UFO activity in that area. The gimbal video was from the same area at the same time, like minutes apart. And that was a part. The gimbal UFO was part of a fleet of UFOs. So yeah, there's a lot of activity in that area. Those pilots were seeing those craft like on a daily basis. First thing Kozlowski did is try to debunk it. So Kozlowski's not playing for us. He's not playing for disclosure. So of course he's going to deny John Greenwald. He is. I'm going to start calling him the lovely Kozlowski, the lovely Doctor. I forget his first name. Just the lovely Kozlowski for the moment. I think he's earned it. I think he's earned it. Prove me wrong, Kozlowski. Prove me wrong. Anyway, yeah. So let me know what you guys think about it all in the comments below. Meanwhile, last but not least, did you know that seals can sleep underwater? That's right, seals can sleep underwater. Apparently, they can hold their breath and sleep underwater for up to like 30 minutes. Did you know that? Isn't that wild? He looks pretty comfortable too. Let me know what you think about this happy sleeping seal and everything else covered today in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Smash the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. If you want to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, consider grabbing a t-shirt or a coffee mug in the merch store. If you like science fiction or fantasy books, maybe you could pick up one of my books. Again, see the link below. I'm a novelist. Or you can become a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, much like this sleepy seal. Maybe that's not a good comparison, but come on, he's pretty cute. Channel members are rock stars, and I really do appreciate you guys' support. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.